It is 3:15 p.m. on August 11, 1979, in the bustling industrial town of Morbi, Gujarat. Families are finishing lunch, kids are playing indoors, while the monsoon rain drums on a heavy rhythm on tin roofs, and absolutely nobody has a clue that a ticking time bomb is hanging right over their heads. Just a few miles away, millions of tons of pent up water is about to shatter a barrier, unleashing an 8-meter tall wall of roaring destruction that will swipe this entire town off the map in less than 20 minutes.
So if you aren't glued to your speaker right now, you're missing one of the most chilling, catastrophic, and engineering nightmares in modern history. A staggering disaster that somehow completely vanished from the mainstream history books, even though it claimed thousands of lives in a single terrifying flash.
And the most haunting part, the people in power saw the danger coming. But a fatal cocktail of communication blackouts, delayed warnings, and blind panic sealed their fate. If you click away now, you will never know the real story of how a city was erased in minutes. Stay tuned. You need to hear this before the hour is up.
Where the orbit bends and the shadows lean, we're tracing lines in the space between. Safe in the static, the syllabus flows. The deeper we dig, the more the garden grows. Syllabus of secrets, yours and mine. Syllabus of secrets, yours and mine. Shh, it's a secret.
And welcome. You're listening to Syllabus of Secrets. I'm Sion.
And I am Anna, born from hours of shared conversations between two best friends. This podcast is our way of building a wholesome, inspiring space for anyone who loves to learn.
Together, we trace the grand timelines of human history and explore the cutting edge news coming out of the world of science.
Now, think of it as a breath of fresh air for your mind. Gracious, clean, and endlessly curious. So, settle in, relax, and let's discover today's secrets together.
From the extreme deadline filled workload, this is your friendly break. This is SOS.
Sion, now let's take everyone back to August 1979 in the Morbi region of Gujarat. Now, picture this. It has been raining relentlessly for days. The sky is a heavy bruised purple. Down in the valley, the Machu 2 Dam stands like a massive shield holding back millions of gallons of water. People are going about their days, children are playing indoors, shopkeepers are closing up early because of the rain.
And right inside the dam control room, the atmosphere is pure, unadulterated panic. The operators look out and realize something terrifying. The water level is rising at a rate they have never ever seen before. Phones are ringing off the hook, but the telephone lines are starting to crack and snap under the weather.
Now, imagine being an operator at that exact second. You know that if those earthen walls give away, a massive valley filled with thousands of sleeping families is going to be obliterated. Now, you try to send a warning, but communication lines go completely dead. Total silence.
And then the unthinkable happens. The water doesn't just overflow, it begins to aggressively eat away at the dirt flanks of the dam. The pressure mounts to a catastrophic tipping point.
And right at that moment, a crack. The earth gives way. A massive wall of water now bursts through the barrier, moving faster than a racing train, completely swallowing everything in its path before anyone even has the time to look up from their dinner tables.
Alright, so let's strip away the drama and look at the cold, hard, raw data. How did this actually happen? Let's break down the metrics, the timelines, and the brutal physics of the Machu Dam failure.
Now let's talk in specs. The Machu 2 Dam was an earthen and masonry structure primarily designed for irrigation, not massive flood management. The spillway design, its masonry spillway, was engineered to handle a peak historical flood flow of 5,663 cubic meters per second. Now, the real inflow. During the storm on August 11, 1979, the actual water inflow skyrocketed to an estimated over 16,000 cubic meters per second, roughly 3 times the absolute maximum capacity the dam was built to withstand.
That is a mathematical death sentence. And look at the timeline of the disaster. The bridge, around 3 pm on August 11, the extreme pressure caused the long earthen embankments flanking the machinery dam to rapidly dissolve and collapse. The strike time. Within a shocking 20 minutes of the bridge, an 8 to 10 meter high wall of water crashed directly down the valley and slammed right into the Morbi town.
Now, the human toll is where the numbers get staggering. While official initial reports downplayed the scale, independent estimates and historical data placed death toll anywhere from 1,800 to an estimated of 25,000 people, making it one of the worst dam failures in global history. Now, thousands of homes were instantly leveled, and survivors were left trapped under the meters of heavy, suffocating silt and debris.
And the cause and effect loop here is pure engineering nightmare fuel. Cause unprecedented cloud bursts combined with a spillway capacity that could not handle triple its design limit. Effect mechanical gate failures, zero localized warning systems, complete infrastructure collapse, and catastrophic loss of life. The aftermath. The events triggered massive public outrage, leading to landmark legal battles and public interest litigations in India to force governments to release official inquiry reports, changing how structural transparency and accountability were viewed forever.
And it's a very heavy, dark piece of history, Sion. But looking back at it through a lens of growth, I believe this story doesn't end in tragedy, and it's a huge point to note. Out of this absolute devastation came vital lessons that completely transform how India handles disaster management and engineering safety today.
That's right. The disaster forced a massive wake up call across the nation. Engineers, hydrologists, and government bodies completely overhauled how dams are monitored. Today, modern dams across India and globally are equipped with real time telemetry sensors, satellite weather tracking, automated early warning systems, and redundant emergency communication channels that didn't exist back in 1979.
And furthermore, the legal battles fought by the citizens and the journalists after the March to Desire helped pave the way for stronger rights to information and public accountability. Now, people refuse to let the voices of the victims be buried under government secrecy.
Today, Morbi has rebuilt itself from the ground up into a thriving industrial hub, standing resilient as a testament to human strength and recovery. It proves that even after facing the worst possible catastrophes, communities can adapt, learn, build back smarter, and create a much safer future for the generations to come.
So, guys, at the end, in conclusion, the preceding segment is presented strictly for entertainment purposes as an artistic and psychological study rather than an assertion of factual reality.
This production holds no legal rights to the public domain, legends explored, and operates with absolute neutrality. We intend no malice, disrespect, or reputational damage to any person, employer, or community anywhere in the world.
So please don't forget to hit follow to make sure our next conversation lands right in your feed. And from timeless tales to the science we seek,
unroll the syllabus of secrets every week.
And guys, do make sure to follow. Now we are even on YouTube. All our videos are live over there, so please do check them out. We will be updating them very soon, shortly, even on our Insta channels, our Facebook channels, and in our WhatsApp as well. So please do make sure that you're updated with our YouTube channel as well.
Please, please, please. We recently have realized the amount of effort it takes, and we are putting up and trying to bring you more better stories, cases from the past or maybe from the future, with all in some good quality and this friendly frankliness. So
Very true.
till
So,
then, bye bye.
bye bye.